Hi guys, welcome back. So, just a bit of an update really on what's happening. Um, Weather's got better, thank goodness, because it was doing my head in. Although, heat's still not there. It's a lovely day, but it could be warmer. Still a wind. I live right by the coast, so there's always a chilly wind, which is really annoying. So basically, I've been sitting at home for. I'm on the third week. I think I'm on the third week of furlough from work, and kind of bored and exhausted. All my projects finished, some small ones that I had on the go, nothing like the van anyway. Oh yeah, update from the van. So I'll just tell you, I'm sitting on my daughter's trampoline. Luckily we managed to pick up it. Basically, when I heard in February that China had this virus, I kind of panicked a bit, and because you know it's coming, like they weren't even sure if it was airborne at that time, so I was stressed out about that. So I'm not a prepper, like, but well, in a way I am, because I do a lot of things like in the spur of the moment. I'll just do it just in case, because it's always better to be safe than sorry, obviously. So anyway, we managed to get this trampoline before they shut all the stores and all that, and thank God for that, because yeah, right in my mouth, damn, he flies. Just as well, because she'd be going, well, she is going crazy, because she was at nursery, but now that I'm home full time, we're just keeping her home. There's no point putting her at risk for no reason, and it would be a bit cheeky to be putting her into nursery when I'm sitting here. So she's actually up in bed with her wife at the minute, having a snooze. So we managed to get this trampoline just before they shut all the big shops. God, there's so many flies out today, it's unreal. Look at the size of that one. Hundreds of them. So the van, I was telling you before, basically April last year, when I stripped the intake manifold, me and my mate Mark got it stripped, put the new one on. Mark did some work on the brakes. All the back brakes got redone, pads, discs, drums, handbrake, everything got done, because it was going to go through an MOT. But as you know, there's some engine light fault, and there's a heap of error codes up. I've managed to get, like, fix the genuine fault codes with new parts, but the fault codes that are still there are because I stupidly, it's 100% my fault. I've never shown you, but I've got one of those Chinese jump packs. They're like, I think it's 5600 amp hours or something crazy in a little battery, and so I decided I was going to jump the van, because the van had been sitting. I was so eager to see if I'd fixed the problem, I thought, oh, I'm just going to jump start it. Anyway, I should have jump started it from the terminal points in the engine bay, but because I had the battery exposed and blah de blah, I just thought, oh, I'll just throw the jump pack on the battery. That's the worst thing you can do with a Sprinter, as I found out. I'm pretty sure that I've spiked the ECU, and either, this is my own deduction, because I've not sent the ECU away yet, because that's going to cost some money. I have got in contact with a guy who says he can fix it, but I just want to wait until I know, obviously being furloughed and that, I'm only getting so much money every week, so I need to wait and see how it all pans out. I mean, to be honest, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. We're scraping by. I mean, there's no frills. We're not buying anything new just yet. We're just going to have to wait and see how the economy picks up, especially with my work. I mean, I don't just work 39 hours. I work sometimes double that in a full week, if not, and a bit more when we're really busy. But obviously that hasn't come this year, which is annoying. But we just got to roll with it, see where it's going. Forget about that. I'm sick of listening to all that crap. So basically, spiked the ECU is what I think I've done. So either the 5 volt reference that the ECU needs to basically the ECU, especially in a Sprinter, because there's a sensor on most components. So basically what happens is when you turn the key, the ECU powers up and sends 5 volts to all these sensors. If the sensor and the component is working correctly, some of them take more voltage, most of them are 5 volt reference, then it sends that signal back to the ECU to say, right, everything's kosher. And I mean, it happens in just a split second, not even like a second, like 100th of a second, it's bang, it's it done. So sends it back to the ECU and basically says, right, we're ready to start. But if there's obviously a problem, then that gets logged in the ECU, and it'll either come up on your computer as current, which means it's happening now, or if it's been something that's happened in the past and you've replaced that bit, then it'll be like a historic code. So basically all my codes are current. I have got 2, no, in fact they're away now. I had 2 historic codes which were P2BAC, which is like an unknown generic code. Obviously if I had a star, which is your Mercedes diagnosis machine, which costs like 150 quid an hour to stick them on, up this way anyway, so that's why I've never done it. I basically bought my own tool. Sorry, just checking the phone, I got a message. I basically bought my own diagnostics tool from China. And it's actually really good. I've also got another one which is iCar Soft MB2, which is specifically for Mercedes, and that is a really, really good tool, really handy. The other one I've got slightly better, although just extremely complicated to use because the software is just not very user friendly, but it is really good. You can turn the injectors on and off. There's a heap of different things you can do. It's really, really handy tool. Like, anyway, so the ECU takes this 5 volt reference back and forward to the sensors and lets you get going. So I'm not going to bore you with the codes because they're just 4 of them, which are for the injectors, are basically because when I switch on the power, one of the components is, well, it's not even a component. What's happened is when I switch it on, the 5 volt trace wires, and when I'm talking about trace wires, these little wires inside the ECU are they're so minute they probably won't be able to like resolder them. I have seen it done. If you look on YouTube, there's a guy, I don't know his name, it's Al M Autos. He is absolutely an absolute genius when it comes to fault finding and ECU repair. He is 100% amazing. So have a look for his channel, Al M Autos. He's brilliant. I think he's Portuguese. He lives in the UK and he's, you know, been here years and years. So his English is really good and he's really good to understand. He just, the way he sets out his problems, he's just quality. I even cheekily sent him a message to see if he would have a look at I could send him my ECU, but he never got back to me. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Because up here in Scotland, I mean, I can't find anybody that kind of does it for a reasonable price. The problem is when you send an ECU away, they're either gonna transfer data from one ECU to another. Basically, an ECU is just a chipboard, like a computer software chipboard with components on it that just make the car run a lot better. And they make the car run in sync with everything runs in sync with each other, and the ECU can be tuned, and you'll know all about this. You will have heard about EC tuning and all that. Anyway, I think I've blown either the 5 volt trace wires or the 5 volt capacitors, or maybe not 5 volt, but they're capacitors, resistors. So basically when I put this Chinese jump pack on, you can pump it from 12 volts to 19 volts, and I had it at 16, which I thought was, you know, I thought if I have it on 16 volts, the battery's probably only going to take about 14 and it'll get going, because that's what an alternator puts through a battery. But obviously that didn't happen, and I've spiked the ECU or done something. But until I send it away for diagnosis, because the guy's going to have to crack it up, well, diagnose it first through another computer, and then crack it open and have a look to see if the components are blown or not. I'm just listening to that truck go by. I know who that is just by the sound of the lums, like steaming up the road. Anyway, so yeah, so that's the next plan. If I get furloughed again for another 3 weeks, which I'm kind of thinking is likely, I'm just gonna do some more bits on the van in the back. I mean, I'm not gonna be able to do anything exciting, but I've got the struts to raise the bed up in the back. I don't know if you remember one of my last videos. I'm gonna put the bed on these. Well, they are gas struts. I got them out of the skip at work. In fact, actually, the fitter actually gave me them. They never even touched the skip. I said to the Liebherr fitter, I said, look, what are you doing with those struts? I says, I can use them. And he said, look, they're getting binned anyway. They're not. There was some recall on them or something. They weren't any use, basically. They weren't doing anything but adding weight to the machine. So they just took them off and they refitted a modification, blah blah blah. I won't bore you with the details. But he was going to bin them, and I says, look, I'll take them. So he was like, I just take them. And they're absolutely ideal. They fit my bed. They look like they were custom made for the height of my bed. They're way too thin. They're brilliant. So that's the next thing. I'm going to bin the mattress out the back. It's rubbish. Don't like using it anymore. We haven't slept on it in a year, so it's not mouldy or anything. I just want a lighter a fat memory foam mattress. You get these cool blue memory foam mattresses which are slightly better. We had a topper on the mattress, but it's just too big and bulky for the van. And I think the struts will struggle to lift it. I mean, I've got to kind of work out what kind of weight they can lift. I mean, they're pretty good. So that I'm going to get on with that and a bit of painting on the outside of the van. The van has been sitting for a year and it is as rusty as all hell. So that's the next big job, is touch up all the rust, spray it off, and I'm actually going to sticker it up as well. The weather's got better, so painting and things like that is going to be the next plan. Other than that, I'm kind of kicking stones around. I hope everyone's keeping safe and well and sticking to the rules. I know it's tough, but they're there for a reason. And yeah, it looks like this thing's kind of going away, but I think we need to be very careful because it's probably likely there's going to be a second wave in a couple of months. I mean, you have to think of all angles, and I would say that's probably going to happen. Because as soon as people start congregating again, that's it. Anyway, so I hope everyone's good. I'm going to do just to show you what kind of day we've got here. Absolutely lovely day, fantastic day. I'm actually just going to nip out to the shops now that the girl's in her bed. I didn't think there was planes flying, but I can see trails in the sky, so I don't know what's going on there. I'll just having a quick smoke while I'm outside, trying to give up while I've been on furlough, but that's not worked. Oh yeah, show you my mower. So I got my mower. I've got a ride-on mower. I got it all fixed up. It's been sitting in the garage, basically doing nothing. So this is a little mount field. I think it's 5 horsepower or something. So I got this for next to nothing off of eBay about 5 or 6 years ago, and when I mean nothing, I got it for basically nothing. And me and my mate John went and got it, threw it in the back of I had a Freelander at the time. The roof popped off it, threw that in the back, brought it back. Basically the guy said it was a non-runner, non-starter. Took the spark plug out, fixed the gap in the spark plug, put it back in, and it ran beautifully. There was nothing wrong with it. It's looking a bit rough now. If you see the seat, do you know what did that? A rat did that to the seat when it was in the garage. Chewed it all up and made a nest. Anyway, so I've just fixed it. I had a carburetor problem. I took the bowl at the bottom of the carb off and it was all like jelly. So that's obviously old fuel that had been lying in there going manky. So what I did was I had like a 20-year-old, about that much 20-year-old bottle of Red X for petrol. I haven't had petrol for a while, and I threw it in, 4 or 5 cranks, and she was away. And she's never run so good. I mean, it was obviously needing the right clean out. But yeah, it's a good little mower. It's a crank start purely because the battery's dead, and I think the solenoid's burnt out. If you look here, I was jump starting it with that jump pack and melted all the wires, and I think I burnt the solenoid out as well. So I should have realised, let's take out the sun, should have realised from that I shouldn't have been using it for those kind of things, but expensive lesson learned on little jump packs. Anyway guys, I'll leave you there. I'm just rambling because I'm bored and I've got loads to do. Like, what, trying to get motivated is quite difficult at this time. But yeah, but like I say, hope everyone's good, and keep liking and subscribing to my videos. Thanks for I've had another flurry of subscribers. Obviously everyone's sitting at home on YouTube, bored out their minds, don't blame them. So thanks for that. And I'm going to try and do, I say it all the time, try and do more videos, but I'm going to try and do some how-to videos. Although, to find the struts that I've got, you'll be very, very lucky. But you could probably use like boot, you know, like in your boot you have those gas struts. You could probably use them, and you could find something off of eBay to do that, you know, raise the bed up. But that's probably going to be the next thing, but I'll have to wait till the daughter's having a snooze in the mornings so I can come out and do a little bit. Alright guys, we'll see you in the next one.